I believe there is a lost art in today's world. That lost art is listening. Not hearing words, listening. Listening long enough to understand. Listening without interrupting. Listening without already preparing your response. Listening to someone's heart, not just their words. We live in a world with more communication than any generation in history. We have phones, text messages, email, social media, podcasts, video calls, and endless opportunities to connect. Yet for all of our communication, we may be listening less than ever. We hear words, but we don't hear people. We hear opinions, but we don't seek understanding. We hear responses, but we miss the heart behind them. We are surrounded by communication, yet genuine listening is becoming increasingly rare. James 1:19 says, everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. I've been thinking a lot about that verse lately because I see the lack of listening everywhere. The other day I went to pick up a catering order at a restaurant. I told an employee I was there for the order, and they said they were working on it. About 10 minutes later, a manager walked up and asked, "Did you tell someone you had a catering order?" I said, "Yes, about 10 minutes ago." The information was spoken, but nobody really listened. They stared, as if it didn't compute. The same thing happens every day. You go through a drive-thru and they ask for your name. You say your name and somehow they hear something completely different. You order food one way and it comes out another. Words are exchanged, but people aren't really listening. Several years ago, when I was on staff at Grace Baptist in Winston-Salem, we attended a seminar led by Forsyth Memorial Hospital on the importance of communication and pastoral care. The room was full of pastors and chaplains throughout the area of Winston-Salem. One of the exercises revealed something surprising. Most of us talked far more than we listened. We were often preparing our response while the other person was still speaking. There is also a lesson that I've learned over the years. One of the greatest secrets to success in life is simply learning to listen. The best leaders listen. The best husbands listen. The best wives listen. The best parents listen. The best pastors listen. The best friends listen. Why? Because listening helps us understand people. It helps us learn. It helps us avoid mistakes. It helps us build trust. So if listening is so valuable, why do we struggle with it? Sometimes it's insecurity. We feel like we have to prove ourselves, so we're always talking. Sometimes it's anxiety. Our minds are racing ahead to the next thing instead of being present in the current conversation. Sometimes it's pride. We think we already know what the other person is going to say. And sometimes, if we're honest, we don't want to listen because deep down, we're afraid they may be right. Looking back, some of my inability to listen in my 20s and 30s came from insecurity, came from anxiety, and came from pride. I was driven, busy, focused on solving problems, and always thinking about the next thing. Too often, I was listening just enough to formulate an answer rather than truly understanding the person speaking. By God's grace, I've gotten better in my 40s, but like we all do, I still fail. Recently, I realized I had not listened well to a church member. I had heard her words, but I wasn't fully hearing her heart. The Lord convicted me afterwards, and I sent her a text apologizing for not listening the way that I should have. That experience reminded me that listening is not something we master once and for all. It is a discipline that we must continually practice. Proverbs 18:13 says, "The one who gives an answer before he listens, this is a foolishness and disgrace for him." Listening is more than a communication skill. It is an act of humility and love. When we truly listen, we're saying you matter. What you're saying matters. And isn't that exactly what Jesus did? People were drawn to Jesus not because of what he said, but because of how he treated them. Blind beggars cried out and he stopped. Children approached him and he welcomed them. Broken and hurting people came to him and he listened before he spoke. People felt seen in his presence and they felt heard. Psalm 116 verse 1 says, I love the Lord because he has heard my appeal for mercy. Think about that. The God of the universe listens to his children. If God listens to us, shouldn't we listen to one another? The older I get, the more I realize that most people don't need another expert in their life. Social media in our world are filled with people who think they are experts on everything. They don't need another lecture. They don't need another person telling them what to do. They need someone who will genuinely listen. So today, before you speak, slow down. Ask another question. Listen a little longer. Seek to understand before seeking to be understood. You may discover that one of the most Christ-like things you can do today is simply give someone the gift of being heard. Have a great Monday.